So we're in New Orleans filming the last of our series of What's the Future, and we thought we just have to get a connection between AI, which is this episode, and jazz. I couldn't think of anything, so I thought, what the hell, let's ask ChatGPT. So, New Orleans, jazz, and AI. AI has been used to explore and analyze the history of jazz in New Orleans. For example, researchers have been using machine learning algorithms to analyze historical recordings of jazz performances in order to identify patterns and features that are unique to the city's jazz scene. So there it is. AI is going to play an increasingly important role in all of our lives. It's going to help to protect us. It's going to help us keep us healthy. But if you're like me, you kind of grew up movies like The Terminator, and we think about AI and we think about some kind of hyper-intelligence that's going to take over the world and bring an end to mankind. And that's simply not the reality. Well, not for the short-term future, let's say. The reality is with AI, it's already affecting our lives. When you go to Netflix or you go to your music streaming service, it's starting to look and make recommendations as to other things that we might enjoy. When we visit hospital and we have scans taken, we're feeding more and more of those scans into AI, and it's using that knowledge to help identify signs of cancer that as humans we wouldn't even be able to detect. The AI market is going to be 1.8 trillion in the next few years, and it's going to be for all of these reasons. Most of us will interact with an AI on a day-to-day basis and probably never even notice it. For others, the effect is far more profound.
So I was born in Australia, missing my left hand, and to this day, we still don't know why that occurred. And so I guess I've grown up in a world wanting to understand more about who I am. I found myself, loving sport and using sport as a platform to be able to share my stories. So I represented Australia in the sport of swimming for about 8 years. And then just about 12 months ago, I was contacted by Simon Pollard, the CEO of Coby, who was interested in working with me from a patient advocate perspective, wanting for me to try the technology of the Coby hand and to sort of introduce or invite technology into my life, because I guess for many years I resisted a little bit.
So you've lived most of your life without even thinking about it. So how was that to suddenly decide, actually, Coby have been in touch, they're offering this new prosthetic? That must have been quite a conflicting feeling in your mind.
Yeah, it was, because as you said, I don't know any different. I was born with one arm. I really am able to do everything without it. So what can I do now that's sort of going and pushing beyond the boundaries as I know them?
So now you've embraced technology. How far does that go?
Yeah, I think this is a question I ask myself on a regular basis. And it is about knowing where the boundaries are, where the lines are. And so for me, from a personal perspective, it's about looking at the ethical component to that as well, and being part of that process and part of that conversation, with the idea that we're not looking to necessarily fix or put people back together who might be living with a disability, but how can we enhance the human capabilities that are already there? This sort of technology at the moment, it's not invasive in any way, and it's so remarkable. And the fact that my brain signals sending, messages to my muscles that then enable the computer to work, to get to a point, which I know we will, where that becomes so automatic that the computer is able to respond to whatever it is that I'm thinking. I'm now excited by that idea, because I think what it's doing is it's changing the perspective on which people look at technology and the way that they look at disability as well.
We're already seeing AI have a profound impact on our lives. It's affecting different industries in different ways, but in such a positive outcome. But what's the future?
Jessica's story really underscores the need for responsible AI.
Well, companies like Google have established some key principles for developing their AI algorithms.
The first one is fairness. Does the AI algorithm produce results that are fair and unbiased? Then there's interpretability. Can the results produced by the algorithm actually be thoroughly explained? Privacy. Does the algorithm protect the privacy of both the training data and the input data that's been used to train it? And of course, security. Is the algorithm that's been built secure against attack?
Well, we know with AI comes a massive quantity of data. It's these quantities of data that will allow us to train the algorithms to become more and more intelligent and more useful to us.
This data has to be protected, secured, and used responsibly throughout the whole AI lifecycle. That's from ingest to reconstituting exact data sets, potentially years after a model was trained, through to that long-term archive.
And those will be the challenges that tech companies such as NetApp will be focusing on both today and in the future.